From the workbook. Lesson 25. I do not know what anything is for. Purpose is meaning. Today's idea explains why nothing you see means anything. You do not know what it is for. Therefore, it is meaningless to you. Everything is for your own best interest. That is what it is for. That is its purpose. That is what it means. It is in recognizing this that your goals become unified. It is in recognizing this that what you see is given meaning. You perceive the world and everything in it as meaningful in terms of ego goals. These goals have nothing to do with your own best interest, because the ego is not you. This false identification makes you incapable of understanding what anything is for. As a result, you are bound to misuse it. When you believe this, you will try to withdraw the goals you have assigned to the world, instead of attempting to reinforce them. Another way of describing the goals you now perceive is to say that they are all concerned with personal interest. Since you have no personal interest, your goals are really concerned with nothing. In cherishing them, therefore, you have no goals at all, and thus you do not know what anything is for. Before you can make any sense out of the exercises for today, one more thought is necessary. At the most superficial levels, you do recognize purpose. Yet purpose cannot be understood at these levels. For example, you do understand that a telephone is for the purpose of talking to someone who is not physically in your immediate vicinity. What you do not understand is what you want to reach him for, and it is this that makes your contact with him meaningful or not. It is crucial to your learning to be willing to give up the goals you have established for everything. The recognition that they are meaningless, rather than good or bad, is the only way to accomplish this. The idea for today is a step in this direction. 6 practice periods, each of 2 minutes duration, are required. Each practice period should begin with a slow repetition of the idea for today, followed by looking about you and letting your glance rest on whatever happens to catch your eye, near or far, important or unimportant, human or non-human. With your eyes resting on each subject you so select, say, for example, I do not know what this chair is for. I do not know what this pencil is for. I do not know what this hand is for. Say this quite slowly, without shifting your eyes from the subject, until you have completed the statement about it. Then move on to the next subject and apply today's idea as before. I do not know what anything is for. So, today's lesson continues on from yesterday's. we began to see that all perception was determined by ego goals. And then the obvious step is to withdraw the meaning on every goal, withdraw the meaning, every demand, every expectation, every meaning that was given to the world of images. Because all of these false ego goals and meanings are blocking the awareness of one simple fact. Everything is for your own best interest. So first, we were told by Jesus that we do not perceive our own best interest in any situation. And now today, we are being told this amazing fact that everything is for your own best interest. And he goes on to say that is what it is for. Meaning everything is for your own best interest. Is the purpose. That is its purpose. That is what it means. This recognition that everything is for your own best interest is the meaning of forgiveness. All things work together for good. Without comparison, all things are equally acceptable. And everything I ask for, I receive as I have asked. All things work together for good. There are no exceptions except in the ego's judgment. And the ego doesn't exist. So this workbook lesson number 25 is echoing the teaching in the Bible. All things work together for good for those who love the Lord. For those who are in alignment with the Lord. For those whose one goal is peace of mind, whose one goal is forgiveness, is happiness. That alignment yields an experience of all things work together for good. And what of all this goal pursuit that we talked about yesterday? Jesus tells us that these are all coming from personal interest, and he follows that by saying, you have no personal interest. That's why Miguel Ruiz, in his 4 agreements, has one of the agreements is, don't take anything personally, because nothing is personal. The ego is not who we are. And yet, Jesus says, this false identification makes you incapable of understanding what anything is for. And as a result, you are bound to misuse it. So believing in the ego means not understanding anything and misusing everything. That's the seeming cost of believing in the ego. It's not a cost in reality, but it's a cost in awareness. It costs you the awareness of peace. And he says, when you believe this, when you believe that you don't understand anything and you're misusing everything, then you will try to withdraw the goals you have assigned to the world instead of attempting to reinforce them. You will release all sense of ambition. You will release all sense of striving for something that you don't already have. Because as we learned from our text reading today, what you have is what you are. What you have is what you've always been. You don't need to seek for your identity. You don't need to achieve goals to reach or reinforce your identity. Identity is created by Spirit, by God, and it does not need to be improved. You come to the awareness that there is no such thing as self-improvement, and there never was. Your motivation will shift from striving and pursuing to an acceptance of what is, a contentment. And then Jesus gives us a beautiful example about using a telephone that you do seem to understand purpose at superficial levels. But he follows this up by saying that yet purpose cannot be understood at these levels. So you may seem to know what a telephone is for, may seem to know what a car is for, a chair, a table, a drink, but purpose cannot be understood at these levels. Remember, the ego invented these levels. All levels are inventions of the ego. And Jesus told us in the text that the only seeming levels that do not conflict are the levels of the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The reason they don't conflict is because they are one Spirit. Spirit doesn't have levels. There's no levels of love. Love is constant, eternal, unchanging. So again today, as we practice the lesson, I do not know what anything is for. Let's practice it without making any distinctions to whatever we seem to look upon. Jesus gives us some examples. Pay no attention to near or far, important or unimportant, human or non-human, but calmly look upon anything that catches your eye. Remembering, I do not know what this is for. Practicing very specifically, very slowly, and moving on to the next subject. We are freeing the mind of false meanings, false goals, false pursuits. This is a mind exercise. This is for mind training. And remember, this is for peace of mind, for awareness of true identity. I do not know what anything is for.
Okay, thank you, David. I didn't realize I had that in commentary to it, so thank you, Jesus.
Very cool, brother. Very cool.
But
Excellent.
what I love about this lesson is when we forget about the light of heaven and we seem to experience this world, when we are born, our parents say, this is your body, this is your parent, this is your dada, this is your mama, and we learn what everything seems to be. We have labels put on everything. And these labels are the past conditioning that the mind learns over time to create this self-concept. And this self-concept, over time, when we begin to build it and build it over the period of our life, becomes the ego, becomes what psychology would say the ego, the built self-concept apart from God. And when the mind is aligned with the ego says, based on past learning, I know what everything is for. I know, based off of my past learning, what this telephone is for, what my job is for, what everything of the world is for. And then linear time comes into perspective here. Then the ego says, because I know, based off of past learning, what is best for me in the future. Therefore, because I know what this job is for, I know it is actually for my security in the future so I can pay the bills and do this and that in the world. And what Jesus is pointing to here in this lesson is actually, you're doing the course now, my brother. You're doing the course now. Your only purpose is forgiveness. And Jesus is basically saying, that is the only purpose everything has in the world, to undo the ego. And that is the practice of forgiveness, unlearning the ego, seeing its falsity. It's not really about getting rid of the ego. It's more about just looking upon a cloud and realizing that the cloud is not you, your true essence as the vast eternal sky. And so what I loved about David's talk there was David was saying the purpose underneath the telephone, what the purpose of a telephone is, why are you calling someone? Why? That purpose on the mind level versus the purpose on the form level is, what is the purpose behind the form? The ego will say, well, the purpose of the phone is to call someone that is not in your vicinity. But Jesus is basically saying, we really want to bring our attention back onto the mind level of, why am I doing the things of this world? Why am I working a job? If we just stick with that one example, why am I working a job? This can go hand in hand with Diana's interview, because everyone has seen that, so we can use job as a great example here. The ego counsels, well, the purpose of schooling is to gain credentials, and the purpose of credentials is to set you up for future employment, and future employment is for the purpose of being able to get a long-lasting career, and the purpose of a long-lasting career is to be able to pay the bills and get security within the world. It comes from the world. That's one purpose, and that's totally fine. But Jesus is saying, my purpose, on the other hand, my brother, is the purpose of forgiveness. It is a present goal of being able to remember the present through forgiveness. And so what Jesus is saying is, as we're going through our day-to-day experience, we want to remember that our one goal of peace of mind, our one goal of forgiveness, is just using whatever seems to come up in the moment for that one purpose of forgiveness. What is this showing me about my mind? That's how you can begin to reinterpret the events of the world day to day. What is this showing me about my mind? We're driving to work, someone cuts us off. What is that showing me about my mind? Is there attack thoughts coming up? Is there judgments coming up? Because the ego will say, well, your purpose is to get to work on time, because you will be fined if you show up late. And Jesus is going, that's one purpose. The second purpose, my purpose, is to use your drive to work for forgiveness. To look at what is coming up in your state of mind in that moment by moment. And that is why everything works together for the good of the Lord. Because Jesus is using everything to show us what is in our mind, to show us what is going on that is a block to peace of mind. If we're going for eternal peace and we're going for eternal love, we're going for the kingdom of heaven, Jesus says perfect love must cast out fear. What is not perfect love must come up for us to look at, so that we can begin to gradually open to this experience of consistent peace of mind. And so this lesson here, I do not know what anything is for, is very scary to the ego, because it is the basically undoing of the ego. But Jesus is basically saying, this is great. This is great news. You do not know what anything is for. Therefore, you must rely on my guidance. You must rely on my interpretation of everything. It is an act of humility to be able to begin to go, Jesus, I actually don't know what anything is for. And I know I don't know what anything is for is because I don't like the way I feel. I don't like my life at the moment. My life is shit. I'm depressed. I'm scared all the time. My identity is shaky. I'm in constant fear. I don't like how I feel. And Jesus is going, great. This is an opportunity to lean on me and my understanding, leaning on the Holy Spirit's understanding rather than our own understanding. And so I do not know what anything is for is a great entry point into guidance, because the ego has its own purpose of guidance. The ego thinks guidance in terms of worldly goals. I'm going to listen to Jesus so I can have a better life in the world. I'm going to listen to Jesus so in the future something good will happen and I will appease God and I will get on God's good side. But what Jesus is basically saying is, my brother, when you lean on me, my guidance is just for your peace of mind. My guidance is just to unwind the mind from the ego, which is on the mind level. The perceptual level is irrelevant. And because the perceptual realm is irrelevant, we can begin to look at it like a movie theater screen. The movie theater screen, at the beginning, when there's no projected images onto it, is just this one unified screen, white screen. And then the people in the back, the projector, they turn the projector on and it projects the images out onto this beautiful pristine screen, and it appears to have images on the screen. And these images appear separate. They appear like they are real worldly events happening on the movie theater screen. But Jesus is basically saying we are shifting our attention off of the movie theater screen now back to where we truly are, which is in the audience watching a movie. That is what my guidance is for. To shift our identity, which is on the movie theater screen, which we think is on the movie theater screen, back inwards in this analogy, to coming back inwards into we are the observer of the movie.
Can I ask
Initially as
a question?
yeah, go ahead.
Like, what if you've seen like improvements in your quality of life by like acting on faith and kind of knowing that it is uh, a movie screen and kind of like just trusting that, and then you get improvements in quality of life. You might be doing the same things, but things just feel better. But then you can kind of, even though you can see a marked improvement over the last however many years or months, things might just not feel as good again. And maybe it's because I guess it's because you've got no sense of space between you and the screen. Um, yeah, how do you make sense of that? Like that oscillation.
Yeah, that's perfect. And that's a extremely natural experience for everyone that goes through the practical application of the course, myself included. Is when I first started off, I was like, what the hell, where the hell is this going? What the hell is this all about? And, I would dive into it a little bit, and then initially there would still be this oscillation back and forth. But we really want to use that oscillation as a barometer to how we are feeling. And so we can say, instead of comparing the form, we can compare how we feel. Am I feeling more peaceful than I was, 5 years ago, shall we say, as an example?
Or
Because
even a couple of weeks ago,
yeah,
that's my issue
yeah,
I'm having.
yeah. And so we can begin. Yep, go ahead.
sorry, carry on.
No, all good. Yeah. Oh,
Um,
uh, yeah, go ahead.
it was just the only comment I was going to make there, Connor, was that we're still in the dream when we're making these incremental changes, and like the appearance of moving forward and then the appearance of falling back.
Well, I start to
Um,
see everything as bonds and chains that are keeping me here in the
yeah,
dream. And then I'm like,
yeah.
well, what do I do then? Just nothing? And it's like, that's kind of where I'm at.
It's so just on that very point, and what Dylan is saying through this lesson that David has given us is we plonk a label, aka a meaning, on that. So the label you just plonked on it was chains, right?
Yeah.
Which is a meaning. Um, Whereas what this is saying is we don't know what that progress was for or the fallback was for. We have no idea. But what it does is it presents the opportunity for letting it go, for forgiveness, right? So rather than like going back to right at the beginning when you were talking about how you seem to get an understanding and some joy out of that, but then
Yeah.
you retract into your mind, like a safe place.
I just don't want to let go when I think things are coming up. in order for me to let go of them. I think that's what it's
Yeah,
telling me to do, and I don't want to do it.
and you run, right? You run back into the safe
And
place,
then I
and
think, oh, if I do this, let me just do all of the things in the dream that I thought were making me feel better, and
yeah.
none of them are
But
what what I should be
so what Dylan is saying from through the lesson, and the voice for God, is that it's okay to give it the meaning. It's actually okay to give it the meaning of, well, I'm falling back and I'm going into my safe place, and um, that doesn't feel like it's progress, and it might even be bad, right? And what this is saying, it's okay because that has no meaning whatsoever. And the course says we don't know our forwards and our backwards. We're not,
But it's
we,
like I feel guilt and shame for
yeah,
going into isolation. And like you're saying in the podcast, like sickness is its goal is to put you in that isolation, and I just don't get how I can go from feeling so much lighter and like I've let go of a lot and I can feel so close to Jesus, and then feeling like, oh, now you're feeling so isolated, and you're almost like you keep admonishing yourself for it, and you're just like spinning your wheels. Like those
okay,
two
so
things don't go together.
absolutely. But that's the label that's been put on it by your ego mind, which is to judge it and say, those things do not go together.
So that's
That's
what's
the
making
distinction.
it more of a
Yeah,
struggle
yeah,
when
exactly.
it is just part of the process.
It is just what it is. This is what it's, you know, we don't know what it's for. So it is what it is, right?
Right.
So let go of the meaning that we're giving it. It's neither good nor bad or up or down, or it's nothing. It's just where I'm at. And
Damn.
then,
Okay.
so when you get that one, when that starts to get in
I want
there,
to make sense out of everything, and I
yeah,
question
yeah,
why everything's happening. And fuck, and that's what that is.
you've no idea. Like you you can come to these conclusions, and that's what the ego mind is trying to do. It's trying to bring you to a conclusion, and it's trying to have you conclude, oh, geez, I'm nowhere near it. Off in the wilderness type thing, right? Whereas what the lesson is trying to say to you is that everything works for the good. Everything works for your good. So even though you've gone back into that space that feels safe, that's still working for your good because it is exactly as Dylan was saying. It has you go into your mind and go, "What the hell?" Makes you inquire, and with the guidance to say, well, yeah, does it mean anything at the end of the day, right? Does it really mean that I'm lost and there's no way I'm going to move forward? Well, does it just mean that this is where I'm at? This is where I've got to? Spirit's still quite happy to lead me out from here, hold
So
my
hard
hand.
to trust. I think because
Yeah.
it brings up, yeah, it brings up having to lean on something that's not my ego mind. And I think when there's, especially when I was able to successfully let go, and then there's an influx of like lightness and stuff, I think it's so much easier to attach back to my ego and be like, oh yeah, we're back, we're doing this.
But but
Um,
but the point I'm making, Connor, is that that's okay. This is exactly as Dylan said. That's normal. That's exactly what we do. But the point is, that's okay. That's
okay.
that's actually what forgiveness means. Forgiveness is accepting everything as it is and everything as it is not. That's what forgiveness is.
Oh man. So the human thing is just so fucking it's so futile sometimes, and then you can be like, oh, things are great. It gets a little bit grandiose, but then it's just like, wow, it's so futile sometimes. We're just
The
hanging in the
trick
balance so fragilely.
the trick is being able to observe it without trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, yeah, bang on, bang on.
Because as soon as we want to get rid of it, we're making the ego real. But the
Yes,
ego, as
yeah.
David says, is not real. It's not who you truly are.
So why go there? But that's training, Connor. You know,
Mm.
as David was saying, it's the training of the mind to, as Dylan started this out, we get entrained over the years to think a particular way, to put the labels on it, to judge everything, right? And worst of all, to give everything meaning. uh, we have a saying, we're meaning making machines. We give everything meaning. We put labels on everything and we give it a meaning. And typically, the meaning we give it is the meaning that we got from our past, right? So, like going, retracting back into my safe space is given a meaning based on where I've been in the past and, and the feeling that it's a failure, right? That's a
Yeah,
fact.
part of me is like, why can't I just go and like have a really fucking like cool, divinely
Yeah,
guided mission? And it's like, well, I genuinely don't feel ready for that, but it's like I can't accept that and just accept
right.
where I'm at. Yeah.
So, basically, the mind training exercise is exactly as Dylan was saying, to observe it, but observe it without judgment and just go, oh, that's what's going on. However, I'm going to accept, and this is the invitation, I'm going to accept that my way of looking at this is actually for the good, my good. It's going to be for my good. It's providing me the opportunity to look at this and actually change my mind about the meaning of it. Because right now I'm giving it this negative meaning, which is neither good nor bad. It's just what I'm doing. But it's giving me the opportunity to go, well, I don't actually know what this is for. So I'm just going to let it go and allow spirit to come in and interpret some shit for me so I can get it, move on, move forward.
Okay. Because it's
Because it's
like a
just the
matter of
process.
doing that and then doing what I usually do, just my daily stuff. It just doesn't feel the same. And then so it's like, it makes me wonder whether I should be doing what I'm doing. But I think it's like a matter of what you're saying. It's like you can walk and chew bubble gum, but you just have to change how
Yep.
you're seeing it.
Yep. Like step back, be an observer of it, but not a judger of it. Because
Yeah, I
we
think that's
cannot,
it. Because as soon as it's not going, it doesn't appear to be going right, it
right?
triggers that judgmental part of me that says, oh,
Yeah,
this isn't
that's
right.
the one. That's the one. And it's that judgment that holds you, right? And that the invitation is let go of the judgment. You're absolutely clueless. You have no idea what
I
it's
don't know what
for,
progress even looks like. Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Accept that. Accept that and go, yep, I am clueless. I have no clue whatsoever. I might as well just, carry on and just listen.
It's like, I think because when I trust God, when things are going good, it's like, wow, like I don't know what I'm doing and things worked out. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
But when I don't know what I'm doing and things don't appear to be working out, that's when it's harder to trust God.
But
And
so
it's because of the
so
self judgment.
and this is the other thing that I've got in my life is that um spirit doesn't kind of force you to be convinced, right? It doesn't say, there, I've shown you. Now, get your act together. it just keeps bringing and bringing and bringing the stuff for you to look at to convince you. So, that's actually its job. Its job is to convince you, and it will keep bringing until you go, holy shit, how come I didn't get this before? But no judgment with it, right?
It's like I just don't get why there's iterations of that. I think my mind is like hoping that there's one big experience that just completely flips everything over and then it's done. But it's like that can't. Maybe that's not a real thing.
Um, Speaking for myself, and Dylan has these same experiences, is that it was incremental, little steps, until I reached the point where it seemed like I was ready for that very thing you just spoke about, the big one, the flipping one, right? And so, step one is just the willingness to take those incremental steps and be convinced that the incremental steps are actually working for me, right? So that's your first sort of letting go, allowing that those incremental steps, forward and backwards, are actually working for me. That's what this lesson was about. Everything works for you. That's what it's for, right? Everything is actually for you. That's what it's for. No other, nothing else. And so when you're convinced that everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything is actually working for you to bring you home, that's when you start to let go, lighten up, and slowly, you know, do your baby walk.
So it's a matter of like letting myself off the hook, actually.
Absolutely. Let yourself off the hook. The ego is hanging you up on the hook, and worse, convincing you that that's where you should be. You should be hung up on the hook. You should be hung up on the cross.
Yeah, wow. It's really, yeah, it's really trying to crucify me. Like that's
Yeah, that's why in the Bible it says every time you do that, you crucify the Christ over and over again. You are the Christ, right? So when you go through that, you're actually crucifying yourself over and over again, which means nada, zip, nothing, right? Because Christ can't be crucified, so it doesn't mean anything. But the ego tries to convince you that it actually does.
and it
Right?
wants to attach to like the wins I get from surrendering as well. It wants to take credit for that as well.
Absolutely. Wants to take credit for everything.
Yeah. And then condemn you when you feel bad or it's like
But the fact that you notice that is like a huge step
Yeah,
because like it's
absolutely.
it's unconscious to like a lot of our brothers and sisters.
well, it's just in that moment where I had that little emotional release, I could just feel my ego creeping and being like, "Oh, we're back. This is great." It's like, shut up. Like, yeah, thank you.
So the words that I use is thank you for sharing over the shoulder, right? Put it, get behind me, Satan.
Yeah.
Did you want to share your ice cream parable about landmark, about choosing ice cream?
Yeah, yeah. So this was a quite a wonderful disclosure for me. So I went through this course called Landmark, which is very similar to the
I
course, but
know of it. It brought back I went there once off recommendation
okay.
from my sister when I was like 18, but I got kicked out of it because I made a
Oh
scene
wow.
in it. And
Oh,
so, because I didn't like how they closed all the windows and locked the doors and stuff like that. And when it
Oh,
was my turn to speak, I don't know what it was. Maybe I was trying to play by what they wanted me to play by, but the teacher just really had it in for me. It felt like, I don't know, but it's good to see someone got something positive from it. I
so
was just like, you're trying to scam me because they were trying to get me to sign up for the advanced course like straight
yeah,
away and
yeah.
all this.
So I went through the advanced course and I actually did the one after that as well, which really just turns you inside out, right? So, but they have, I don't know if you saw it or whether you got to it. They had this thing about chocolate vanilla chews. Do you recall that one?
I just got to see this. I'm just going to try and see this completely freshly because I don't think I can.
So this exercise, it's called chocolate vanilla chews, and you get hauled out in front of 300 people, not me, it was someone else, and you get asked this question: chocolate vanilla chews, and you're then asked to say why. So typically people would get up there and say, oh, I choose chocolate, right? And then I choose chocolate because, when I was a kid, I tried the strawberry and I tried the vanilla, but when I tried the chocolate, that was the one, right? So what happens is it's that past experience that gets brought right back into your present point, that time. And it is that past thing that does the choosing for you. So the message is we don't actually choose typically in the present. What we do is we choose based on the past. And so that's what's happening when you make your decisions for now. You're choosing based on some past thing that brings you to a conclusion about what's going on. In other words, I had this experience when I was completely embarrassed and blah, blah, blah. And that's what this reminds me of. So I'm not going to risk myself, right? I'm not going to put it out there. I'm going to retreat back into my safe space. The conclusion that you have reached for that is not genuinely, authentically right now. It's based on that past experience. And 99.9% of all our decisions and our choosing are based on the past.
Yeah.
Versus,
Well, that's why I'm choosing to listen to it without that filter. And I know
yeah,
that's why you also like the
bingo,
filter analogy because
yeah, bingo.
it's the past. Yeah.
Versus, I choose chocolate. Why? Because I choose chocolate. That's
But I
it.
think that's what's hard for me is when to see that I've chosen already and I don't realize that I've chosen already based on
Yeah,
conditioning.
typically it's how you feel,
Yeah, and
right?
that always wants to hide from my like conscious awareness. That doesn't want to be
Yes,
discovered oftentimes.
yeah, and how you feel, like if you feel that sort of anxiety, then even a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of fear. There's no such thing as a small upset, right? It's an upset, typically from the past, and versus, man, I feel great within myself. I choose chocolate because I choose chocolate, right? That's absolutely authentic because I chose right there in that moment. And so the invitation for when these scenarios come up where you're feeling a bit of anxiety is go, okay, there are these considerations that are bashing my brain right now. Those considerations are from the past. I had these bad experiences, and right now I feel like that's what's happening for me, right? I'm being put on the spot, and I've got to, my feeling is to run. I've got to run and go back into that safe space rather than be authentic and just be open to just being here with this thing, right?
Yeah, I
So
don't think I could just rise to the occasion that time. I think I was definitely just like probably too traumatized and like just lack of impulse control and stuff. And
well, that's all past stuff, right,
yeah, yeah,
Connor? That was all past stuff kicking in, which is what the course is actually designed for. Landmark and this course is designed to have all that trigger stuff come up and punch
I
you in
was
the
in the thick
nose.
of it though. I was 18, which is probably
Yeah,
when I was
yeah.
going through the worst of it. So
My son, um, at the age of 35, I think it was, went and did the intro course and had exactly the same reaction. Exactly the same.
did he end up leaving? Because there was like one or two other
Yeah,
people that were like, "Yeah, fuck this, and let's
he
go."
wanted to leave. He really wanted, but he hung in there because the forum leader worked with him, worked through it.
Good.
But his words were like, "This is all a scam. It's all high pressure to get you to sign up for the
The
advanced course."
pressure, yeah. I mean, but now that you say it, it does kind of make sense. They're trying to get you into that confrontation and
Yeah, yeah.
stay there.
To
I
have it
think
all
for
come
some
up.
people, it might just not be their time for it.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
if I could see it with what I know now, it's just like way too many like attack thoughts came up. I did
yeah.
not know how to be present with it, and I think I just ended up. But also, the teacher wasn't ready to deal with my amount of. Like, I think he was projecting onto me a little bit too because he could see that I was like had a lot of attack thoughts. Like the fact that his teacher could bring down your son, maybe that's a bit of a miracle, but like it's good that he was able to stay there, but it just wasn't my time, I don't think.
Here's a thought. The attack thoughts coming from your teacher is your mirror.
Yeah,
Okay?
okay. So that was like a perfect mirror of what I
It
was going
was.
through
It
anyway.
was. Yeah. But the thing is to look at it and just laugh at it. Say, oh, that was nuts.
Yeah. I find that so difficult. Like I just get so I think not facing feelings makes me I go into overanalyzation in order to not face
Yes.
feelings.
Yeah, yeah. So we all have our defense mechanisms, like like when they fire those missiles at the plane. The plane has these decoys, things that it fires out, you know, so that the missile will go off and chase those things.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
what we do. We have all these decoy mechanisms that fire out to try and distract from the real issue, right? And it's still in the same. That is classic. That is normal. Quotation marks normal.
Right though, it's like a perfect mirror, so I should be able to laugh at it, but instead I'm
Yeah.
like I'm trying to like I don't know, I'm trying to like I'm condemning myself and be like, oh, but no, I had to do that because of this and that, and and I feel bad about it. It's like,
See, one of the things that I really loved about Landmark was we got to watch someone else go through it, right? And you always see it when it's someone else. You don't see it in yourself. You're always blindsided for yourself, right? But the great value in the sharing, and I feel the same also for this course. The great value of the sharing is that we're actually able to see it in someone else, right? We see the images occurring in someone else because effectively it's a mirror, it's our mirror, but we pretend it's not our mirror because we need to feel like it's over there and not over here, right? It's too scary to have it occurring within ourselves. And that's the whole point of the projection. We cannot hold that guilt and that judgment within ourselves. So we push it out over there into that image over there, which
so even
seems
if
to be
someone has an illumination experience, is that why they end up coming back down as well?
because so um,
Because in order to be here, you kind of have to see it. You can't see it perfectly as it is, because then why would you need to be here? Like,
So you're still in the dream, is what I say, right? You're still in the dream. So you're still impacted by the ego thought system, which is the thing that tries to pull you back down, even though you've had this illuminating experience. And so, I can say that for myself. Having gone through an experience which seemed to be extremely illuminating and, white light experience, there are still times when I have to go through that clearing because, it's like stuff just piles in on top of me. That's the perception. And I have to clear it out. I have to go into prayer or meditation and clear it out because it's that part of the dream in my mind that is going,
I've noticed everyone that
deal with
seems to
this.
have had a legit enlightenment experience, they never want to go around saying, "Oh, I'm enlightened."
No, no.
There's no one to claim it.
Yeah. Actually, that's such a good point. There is actually no one there to claim it, right? Because if there is someone claiming it, then it is an ego, right? Only the mind can claim it, not the body.
Yeah, you'd be using it for the wrong purpose. Yeah, anyway, if you did that.
So my way of doing those things is just to share what happened and allow those looking on to draw their own conclusions about what that means, right? All I do is share what happened. That's it.
I think being able to share what happened unfiltered, though, I think that's hard for me. I think I'm already trying to like make justifications for it and put a filter on it before like I've even really I can be honest about it. It's something like that.
So that is the process. The process is to wipe the filters until they actually crystal, right? So, and so, same for me, my journey, it was a process of wiping the filters until it got clear.
I've got all these ideas of how I should look and how I should like how it should look to express it and how it should be and how my life should look and all this stuff and it's like it's never like that.
Well, the lesson today is not to suppress that, as Dylan was saying, to allow that. Okay? This is how I am. Well, more precisely, this is how I have been, which is
So
neither good nor
it's
bad.
okay to have these high standards of myself and
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
fragment myself and compartmentalize myself in all these ways. It's like,
Shock piece of news, you've already done that. The fact that you're here means you've fragmented yourself, right? All you're doing is now acknowledging, oh, geez, I fragmented myself. I fragged myself.
yeah,
What I love about Byron Katie is she has this thing called loving what is. And it's like we can only be whatever things appear to look like in the moment. So it's just like we're going to let it be and love what is. And then when it's time to release something, it'll just naturally release by itself. And then we're still loving what is in the moment.
One of the biggest um, experiences that I got from Landmark was an exercise called being with, right? And it's exactly what Dylan was saying there, and also what the course really means is that it's an exercise where you stand in a line, two lines, and right opposite you, about 3 feet away from you, stands a person, and you have to look that person in the eye, and you stand there for 30 minutes looking that person in the eye. And believe me, that is one of the hardest things to do, because what happens is when you're looking at that person, you start making up all sorts of
What are
stories
the
about them.
instructions? Are they saying just gaze like it's a meditation, or are they saying like what instructions do they give?
You have to stand there, look that person in the eye, and do not leave. Like,
Wow,
just
okay.
literally be with that person. And we struggle. We struggle to be with someone like
Without any
authentically.
instructions to just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's
Just be
so
there.
many judgments and stuff are gonna come up. Yeah, wow.
And that's what it does. It really just pulls up all these incredible stories that you make up on the spot about that person, because at the end of the day, they are your mirror. And those stories that you're making up are actually your stories, right? They can't be anything else, right? They have to be only your stories because they're coming from you, right?
That's terrifying. I still
It
think
is
that that kind of
absolutely
method of
terrifying.
teaching is might probably even still be too much for me.
So it's the advanced course, right? It's in the advanced course, and that's why it's in the advanced course, because it's a really hard thing to do.
It's hardcore, yeah.
But when you go through it, when you've been through that, and you kind of, phew, I made it. Um, the next part of the exercise is to ask you how you feel and what you feel and who you think you are as a result of that. And it's quite amazing what comes out. Absolutely amazing. It's like everything gets refreshed in your
Who
mind.
you think you are for real, or who you think you are, how
What
you
you're
present
present
to
to,
others?
what you are
Oh, what
present
you're
to
actually
right
present to.
in that moment, right? So no past, no future, just right now. What are you present to? And um, it, so the first part of the exercise is actually to flush out all the stories, right? To bring them up and have them release. And then the second part is, well, what are you present to right now? Now that you've flushed all that out. And it's quite mind blowing what actually comes up. In my case, I don't know why this I came present to this, but in my case, I said, "Oh, I'm present to miracles." So
Wow, so you're cleaning out all the falsity by just both saying what stories you have about each other,
yeah,
acknowledging that they're false, and then whatever's
yeah,
left.
and then that
It's actually
leaves you
quite
in a
mind blowing.
space where you can connect to the truth of yourself, right? And that's incredibly powerful. So that same thing is what the this Course in Miracles is about. It does exactly the same thing. Slightly different route there, but same thing.
That
That's
is
what
all the
today's
stuff that
lesson.
seems to get in the way when you're just having daily interactions with people. Like, if you can't see past all that muck and like the stories you make up about each other, your interactions just aren't anywhere near as good.
Well,
Um,
so once you strip that off, when you're with someone, when you can be with someone in that authentic manner, you start to see the Christ in them, right? You see way past the seeming thing that is presented to you, and you see the truth of them, which is
so you're
another way
right.
of
Like, no
saying,
one actually knows why we're here, what we're doing, why we're just milling about doing the fucking things we do down here. It's like none of us actually have no idea.
we think we have an idea, and typically those ideas are formed by the past, right? Which is the whole, when you drill that one all the way back using the course, it goes all the way back to the past idea that I did something wrong in heaven and
I
that I
think
had
that's
to leave.
why I isolate myself when I feel like all that stuff's getting in the way because it's like, why go out if I'm just going to bring that stuff out in others? Because I know that's what's going on in me.
Yep.
So
But
it
at least you
becomes
know
really
that.
difficult to just be like, okay, well, This is what I'm thinking at the moment, so be it. Like I find that very difficult.
As Dylan was saying, that is quite normal. It's what we do. But the invitation is to look at it and go, I really don't know what this is for. I don't know who this is in front of me, and I don't even know who I am.
I think I just
And
feel
then,
responsible to some extent for what I bring out in others, even like complete strangers. I feel like I guess I condemn myself a little bit, or I feel like a bit of a martyr because it's like, well, I'm I know my thoughts aren't completely clear, so I'm not going to get the best quality reflection. It's going to seem like whatever's going on around me, wherever I end up going, is a bit chaotic. Even though deep down I also know God's with me, part of me is just like still very afraid of like what chaos I'm going to bring out because I know my mind is in chaos.
well, as Dylan was saying, it requires a lot of humility to let that go, right? I have no clue whatsoever about my advances and my devances. I have no clue whatsoever. I have to stop. I have to give up judging it for myself because I am completely incapable of judging properly because all my judging is biased based on my past experience. So let it go.
But when I first came, I was trying to say like I've just been working on letting go of the raw feelings because I know my mind is super analytical and like super stubborn. So it's like that kind of is the approach I'm taking.
So even with the label, yeah, my mind is super stubborn. Thank you for sharing, but it's
You
not
don't
true.
believe me? Oh, it's not true.
You only think that because based on your past experiences, that is your go-to defense mechanism. I'm too stubborn. So therefore, it's not possible for me to change and get past this, right? Whereas what's
Ooh.
occurring here now is to try this one on. So this is how the forum leaders work. They say, try this one on. Maybe you're wrong about that. Maybe you're not too stubborn. Maybe you're just very, very picky, which is me. I'm just super
Maybe you're going
picky.
in the right direction, which is why the
Yeah,
ego is so frantic about distracting you.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
The
You're on
way
the
I
front.
see it is like you're going in the right direction, and the ego is just like, how do I keep baiting this guy?
Yeah,
But it's good. That's good.
especially the one that works really well.
For sure.
I'm going to try my tried and true and tested mechanisms for keeping Connor off his
I
feet.
didn't see it. Yeah, I honestly didn't see it. I got called out.
Yeah,
Well, it got called out.
yeah, that's absolutely the way to call it. It got called out. That's not who I am.